Good afternoon to all. Welcome to the international marketing, which is block one of block one, which is one of part of your subject. Today we'll be discussing on the unit one of block one, which is introduction to international marketing. Basically, when you talk about international marketing, before going for the international marketing, I welcome you all to this session, and I I'm sure that for the next 1 hour, you'll be enjoying the whole session. So, again, I welcome you all for this international marketing. Before we proceed for the international marketing, I just wanted to have some glimpse on the changes that is happening across the globe. That is, you have come across with the recent war of Israel and Iran, Ukraine and Russia. The war is not only affecting only particular country, it is affecting the whole world. So just imagine, that is, even if you are operating in the domestic market, but you have to understand the nitty-gritty of international marketing. So also second point, let me talk about, that is, you also have come across marketing management. When you are talking about the marketing management, you are only dealing with the domestic market. So here you are not dealing, you are dealing with the domestic market along with the outside market where you do not have any control. So that is why you have to have a understanding of international market. International marketing is relevant nowadays. So why? Because anything happens to any part of the world, that is not affecting the particular countries, that is affecting the whole world. So that is why international marketing has relevance in nowadays. Second, we talk about the international marketing. When you talk about international marketing, you talk about the populations. The world population is around 7 billion populations, where you are dealing with a mass, diversified, demographically different populations. So that is why your understanding of international market has immense importance, because you are not dealing with a homogeneous group of customers. You are dealing with a heterogeneous, diversified group of customers. Second one is, no country nowadays, already I have cited you example, no country can remain isolated, because anything happens to any part of the world is not affecting that particular country, not but affecting that two countries, it is affecting the whole world. You have to, even if you are operating in the domestic market, but also you have to understand the that is the international market. Because being a company, let us talk about a company like Indian company. Suppose you are talking about Indian company like, no, we are talking about what now, Onida, or talking about that is Haldiram. Even if their Haldiram is a Indian company, domestic company, but it has to understand the international market. Why? Because the community of other international companies are putting pressure on Haldiram or domestic companies to think about the international market. Third is, exactly, you talk about the borderless. The world has become, that is, world without war. After the globalization, after the 1992, 1991 liberalization policy adopted by the government, that is, the world has become a single village where you will come across with so many companies, so many competitions. So that is, anybody can enter or anybody can exit any country without any hesitation. So that is another paramount importance for international marketing. International marketing is not only dealing with individual countries, it is dealing with, that is, multiple countries. So if you talk about three, four aspects, what are the population, which is diversified, which is no diversified, which is demographically different, that is one of the peculiar thing of international marketing. Second one is, you cannot remain isolated. Even if you remain isolated, you also you also feel the wind of international marketing, and the market has become borderless. So that is, the world has become borderless, so that any company, any can enter to any country, can do the business. So that is, even if you are operating in your own country, you have control, but still you have to understand the international marketing. This is all about the introduction of international marketing. Talking about second point, talking about the, if you're talking about the example, let us talk about the example. Let us go for the activity one. What is that? The companies like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and McDonald's have massive demand across the globe. According to who is of the above mentioned company appear more international to you? That is exactly, if you talk about the three companies, Coca-Cola is the company who is has around presence more than 100 countries, and they know they know have the better understanding of national, international, national market as well as international market as compared to Pepsi and McDonald's. Again, because if you talk about Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola has understand the Indian market, has bought some products which are national, which are localized. What is that? They bought Nimbu Pani. Nimbu Pani, because they know Indian customers, they prefer to go for the Nimbu water during the summer. So that is after analyzing, even if they are international, but they are also understand that is what is the requirement of the local market. So that is why they introduce Nimbu Pani in the market to remain relevant. My submission to all of you is exactly what, even if you are an international company, but you have to understand the local market very well, and also have to have a local offering. Not only you have a standardized offering, you can have a adaptable offering or localized offering, so that you can get the attention of the local market, or you remain relevant in the local market. So that is why Coca-Cola, the first point I talk about, the Coca-Cola is having presence more than 100 countries. Second one is they bought localized product. Third one, they understand the local market, and they are massively spent on marketing mix, product, price, promotion, and place. Huge amount of massive spend. That is why Coca-Cola is the company which has become more international as compared to the other two companies. Done. Second point, we're talking about how can you define, when you talk about the international marketing, that is, how can you define the international marketing? Basically, international marketing is exactly your intent is international. What is that? We talk about, you will be have a concept, you will be pricing that concept, promoting that concept, and distributing of goods and services to create exchanges that satisfy individual as well as the organizational objectives. What? Now that is here, your target audience are who? Your target audience are not only the consumers, but also your target audience are the organizations, the government are your target audience. What is that? When you bring something, keeping in mind what is the requirement, what is the need, by understanding their requirement, by bringing new product, pricing that product, promoting that product, and going for the placing or distribution of that product to satisfy the individual and the organizational objective, that we talk about the international marketing. That is given by that is the given by whom? That is American Marketing Association has given the definition. International marketing is the multinational process of planning, executing the conceptions, pricing, promotion, distribution of goods and services to create exchange that satisfy individual and organizational objectives. Done. Second, we talking about the Philip and John Graham. That is exactly the second definition they talk about. Performance of business activities designed to plan, price, promote, direct flow to the company's goods and services to consumers or users in more than one nation. That is exactly the similar to the first one. It is not confined to only particular one nation. It is beyond one nation. That is why you talk about it is international, and you cannot have the same approach for all the nations. You can have different approaches, customized approaches, adaptable approaches for different countries. Suppose you are operating in India, your approach will be different. You are operating in China, your approach will be different. You are operating in USA, that is your approach will be different. You cannot have a similar kind of approach for all the countries. That is, we talk about the second one. Third one, we talk about identifying needs and wants of the customer in a different markets and cultures, providing product, service, technologies, ideas to give the firm a competitive advantage. What is that we talk about? It is not only you are satisfying the past one talking about satisfying the individual needs, organizational needs. Second one talking about you are not dealing with the one country, you are dealing with the different countries. Third point is talking about what exactly your objective is to get competitive advantage as compared to the other countries. Because why? Because when other companies they are operating in one or two countries, when you have presence in more countries, you automatically have a upper hand, you will have a competitive advantage. So that is international marketing gives you the competitive advantage as compared to other domestic marketing. It has a competitive advantage, and also you have to understand the product, the culture also. Culture, because if you talk about the culture, who talk about that culture? Because even if you are British Airlines, you have to understand, if you want to operate in the Indian market, you have to understand what is our culture. The culture is namaste. So you are talking about the namaste when you see the passenger, when you see the boarders or passengers, the crew members they say namaste, they greet by namaste because they know it is India. You have to adopt the Indian culture. Then second one is also you have to understand the technologies. The technology, what is that? Technology is not same across all countries. It is different from countries to countries. So you have to understand the technological aspect. You have to have a different idea altogether, because already I have cited you examples like a company like Coca-Cola, how they have understood, the Nimbu Pani, that is requirement of the Indian market, and they bought the product and they become successful one. So that is the three are the concepts related to international marketing or defining definition of international marketing, because international marketing is altogether different and you cannot have the same approach. You cannot have your consumers are different altogether, and also beyond product, price, place, and promotion, you have to understand the cultural aspect, the technological aspect, the political aspect, which is another important area of the political aspect. Because if you do not understand the political aspect, because why I'm talking about, because you may have come across with 4 P's of marketing, product, price, place, and promotions. But when you are operating in the international market, the most relevant P is politics. If you do not know the political scenario or political happenings, then you cannot be a you cannot be an international market. Example, let me share an example. Like Coca-Cola was planning to enter the Indian market from 80s, but during that time, the Janata Dal was in power. They are not in favor of the international companies. The company waited 8 years to enter the Indian markets, because when the Congress party they came into power, they allowed, that is Coca-Cola, to operate in the Indian markets. So here is exactly what, that is exactly you have to also understand. Besides this, you have to also understand the political happening, what is currently happening in any country, not only India, any country that is happening, you have to understand that. So this is all about the defining the international marketing. What are the essentials? When you talk about the essentials, it's a process. Yes, definitely it's a process, because you cannot start immediately. You can think and you can enter the other countries, because other countries also have their own rules and regulations. Wherever you are operating, you have to understand what is that. You have to know the law of the land. If you do not understand the law of the land, then you cannot, even if you are a even if you are a big player or you are a multinational corporation, but you cannot sustain in that country, you cannot enter that country, even if you do not understand the law of the land. The law of the land you have to understand. So that is why the international marketing is a process. You have to understand the market, you have to understand the political scenario, you have to understand the economic dynamics, everything you have to understand. Then exactly you have to approach one of the method to enter into that particular country. That is, you talk about the lengthy process. It's a process. Multiple consumers, already I cited you, multiple consumers, exactly who are the consumers? The consumers are here beside the consumer, the consumption who directly consumes. Also, you have, that is the target audience are the organizations, they are also target audience. The government is also a target audience. So you have a multiple consumers and users with diversified need. Yes, diversified need, because the same product cannot be, that is, you cannot target or you cannot position the same product similarly in all countries. So you have to think about what is there, that is the multiple consumers and multiple users. International marketing is an ongoing process. How is it an ongoing process? Because that is the process has to be starts from somewhere and it has to continue, and it will take some years, because this is the example I cited you, the Coca-Cola. The company was trying from 90s but entered in the 1988 because it was that company was trying to enter the country. That is another point. Let me tell you here, the some of the companies they have a proactive approach, some of the companies they have a reactive approach. Before the liberalization happens, some companies already they have anticipated there is a policy change, there is a liberalization policy is going to come. So before that, they have already had their plan in their mind to enter to the international market. Example, Tata companies, they have already, Reliance company, the other, that is, they have already had a plan. So once the government announced the liberalizations, they immediately entered to the international market, because they have continued. They have the process was continuing before some years. But some companies they have entered the market, the international market, after the liberalization, because when they realize that is now there is a scope to enter to the international market, let us enter to the international market. That is why they enter the international market. So this is exactly the approach for international marketing. Is what one is proactive, another is reactive. What are the various modes of entry into international market? You cannot have the same one mode. What are the different modes? The modes are export, franchisee, contract manufacturing, licensing, your joint ventures. There are multiple ways to enter to the international market, because each mode has its own advantage and disadvantage. When you are going for the export, you do not have any of your setup there. Only you are exporting. But the best way to enter to the international market is exactly the company like P&G, the companies like HUL, that is the Hindustan Unilever Limited. Their approach is a level contract manufacturing, which is what, and that is the one of the way you are only, you do not have any production units, only you are concerned with the local marketing activities. So that is the risk remains the less. Second one is you're talking about the joint ventures. Joint ventures is another method, that is you talk Maruti Suzuki, they enter the Indian market with joint ventures. So how? Because joint venture where when you are entering to the in other countries, there are certain risks is associated. What are the risks? The risks are associated like political risks, country risks, and currency risks. So three risks are available: country risks, political risks, and also your currency risks. So when you have a local partner, the local partner can minimize your risks when you are going for the joint ventures. So that is to understand. We'll be discussing in detail what are the different that is the mode of entry to the international market, and on that basis, which is the best possible way. But that is out of the all the entry process modes, franchising, that is licensing, and your contract manufacturing, joint ventures are more, that is the more what is that more the best ways to enter to the international market. International market business is risky, definitely. Why? Because you are going out of your country. So when you are going out of a country, the country already I talk about the risks are, what are the risks associated. So when your other risks are there, so you cannot have the control over the risks. So that is why it is a risky one. Suppose just talking about one side, let me cite in one example. So countries like India, where Once you enter to the Indian market, there is nobody will tell you the no tell you for exit. But it is very difficult to enter into the China market because they are different. They are socialist economy. We are a mixed economy. So we allow both government, private, international, national companies to have a healthy competitions, but they do not allow. They give more priority to their own companies. So that is why the risk is altogether different when you are entering to the other countries. Dominance of multinational company corporations, just talking about that, let me cite one example like Coca-Cola has presence in Apple has presence in multiple countries. When you have a presence in multiple countries, what happens? You know the taste and preference, you know the requirement of the people, you know the risks associated with the countries. So that is why the multinational companies they have a upper hand because they already have this and they know the markets very well. Yes, definitely. If the exchange rate fluctuates, depreciates or appreciates, that has a impact on your product value. And if it is the product value, that is why there is a risk as far as foreign risk is concerned. There is a exposure to the foreign risk when you are going for the international marketing. Hope the first one you talk about the definitions of international marketing, why it is international, essential features of international marketing. Talking about the foreign MNC, their products in the Indian market, so also identify the Indian MNC performing business operations in other part of the world. Talking about the example of Tata company, when they are operating in the Indian market, they also have, they know Indian customers requirement is all about small cars. So they bought Nano to the market. They, even if they are successful or unsuccessful, that different part altogether, but they know Indian customers, they look for family cars, they look for what they look for small cars. So that is why the company introduce small cars, family cars for the Indian market. But they enter when they're entering to the foreign markets, the product is altogether different. That is why they have Jaguar, they also have the Nano. They actually both, they introduce both the, they have both the car because Jaguar they know that is exactly is a costly premium one that is more relevant in the international market, but that is exactly we talk about the Indian market. Again, such example, another example, let me say to you. When companies like USA companies, they are Levi's, they know Indian customer can afford a jeans of 3,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees. They also bring all together different jeans for the Indian market, but when it is international market, they want. So that is why the Indian MNC like Tata, when they're performing business in the other parts of world, they talk about premium cars. But when they are talking about the Indian market, they talk about they talk about small cars and family cars. That is the difference you can observe. The price is also together different. The promotion is altogether different. The distribution pattern is altogether different when you are dealing with the domestic market and international market. What are the nature of the international market? Excuse me. What are the international market? Large scale operations. Because since they have a wide presence, they are enjoying economies of scale. So that is why the scale of operation is exactly huge. They enjoy large scale of operations because they have presence across 100 countries, 100 countries, 50 countries, 20 countries. So that is why they are large scale operations. Soft border market, definitely. They're not dealing with the narrow market because they're dealing with the broader market. Because where they're dealing with 10, 20, 12 countries, 10, 20 or 30 countries. So that is why the market is itself is a broader market. So that is why the requirement, the preference of different customers is altogether different. So that is you talk about the south of global competitions. Just see, let me cite one example here. That is, see, in case of before 20 years, we have come across with if you are you are waiting on the traffic, You are seeing only the Indian cars. Maruti is dominating and other cars. Just see the nowadays. That is exactly the company that is all multinational. Toyota, GM, your all companies they do have their presence, and you will all get all premium cars are the companies BMW, Mercedes. They are all operating in the Indian market. So that is why the competition is not limited to the domestic market. It also went and it also has become a global competitions. That is, even if you are operating, also you are not operating, but that is also you have to come up to global competitions. High risks and restrictions already I talk about. Sometimes, like the policy recently talking about Donald Trump, the tax structure he is planning to implement for other countries. He is putting restriction on other countries. So that is why you are also feeling the risks and restrictions when you are dealing with the international marketing. International marketing you have to understand because the government changes, the policy, the restrictions that all together change. So that is why the global market, the international marketing is having a high level of risks and restrictions. Uncontrollable events. Talking about uncontrollable events, nobody knows there will be a possibility of war between Ukraine and Russia, and the war will continue for 3 years. Nobody has, even if it will completed a 1 year, 2 years, but it is still continuing. So it has, and it is an uncontrollable event, and that is that war is not affecting the both the countries who are involved, but it is also affecting the whole world. That is why the uncontrollable events sometimes you have never expected something will happen. International marketing different from the international trade because international trade basically deals with only you know uh, supplying goods and services to the other countries, but international marketing is actually deals with her understanding the consumers, bringing a product for them, pricing that product, promoting that product and placing that product. But international trade is only dealing with transferring of goods and services to other countries. That is why international trade and international marketing is altogether different. I think I have cleared this one. Cite two examples how international firms have undergone changes to remain relevant in the current international marketing environment. Talking about that, let us talk about USA companies. If you compare USA companies and European companies, if you see both the companies, European USA companies, American companies and European companies, American companies are more successful in the Indian market as compared to European companies. Reason being, the reason being is that is in American companies they know the Indian customer better. Indian customer cannot go for a high-end product immediately, but if you give them EMI facilities, equated monthly installments, they can go for even if it is a high-end product, they can go for if it is EMI is available. They, if you ask them one at a time 10,000 rupees, they hesitate. But if you ask them 1,000 rupees, they can keep that. That is why their companies they know Indian customers, what is their requirements, what is their preference, and European companies, even if they know, but they are not so much localized. They do not bring localized product. So that is why American companies are more successful, international companies more successful as compared to European companies. And they also bought changes when they know that is the customers are requiring a high-end product. So they introduce a high-end product to remain relevant in the competitions because they know, talking about the example of Apple, they know the Indian customer can afford. The affordability is a major concern for Indian customers. So Apple, even if it is high price in other markets, but in Indian market it is little bit less price because they know Indian customers they can go for iPhone. They have a aspiration to go for iPhones, but condition is exactly affordability is a concern. So that is the example of two international firms how they have become successful. Difference between domestic market and international marketing. What is the difference? You can have difference. You can cite difference. International market is limited. Domestic market is limited. But international marketing have a broad market. Domestic market is narrow one. International marketing is a broad one. These are the things you can talk about. Also beyond that, international marketing tasks. What are the environment you talk about? The political environment, economic environment, the social environment, and technological environment. That is altogether different when you are dealing with domestic markets and international markets. That is exactly how, because the political party, that is political party is one party here, but when you are going for the international marketing, the political, there are so many different parties involved in different countries. So that is why the policy, the rules and regulation is altogether different. Diverse market, already we have talked about diverse market, not a homogeneous market, it's a heterogeneous market. Because the hot countries, the preference will be altogether, because if you talk about, we consider AC is a luxury item, but whereas USA they consider, or any developed countries they consider refrigerator is a necessity item. So difference lies that. So that is what exactly they differently they that is their requirement is different, our requirement is different. The market is altogether diverse market, so we cannot have a homogeneous approach. Diverse legal structure when you are entering to the other countries, the legal structure, the rules of the land, rules of the country is altogether different. Already we talk about that. India has a different policy altogether. China, already I have cited you example. India, China has different policy, different rules and regulation altogether. Diverse monetary systems, diverse monetary systems. That is, they are more. We are more liberal. The policy exactly. World Bank has appreciated State Bank of India because of our monetary system. Because anything you take, suppose you are taking a education loan, you are not able to pay the loan, your uncle is there, your father is there, your brother is there to repay your loans. Our system is altogether different. But if you are taking a loan in outside, that is nobody's your what is the nobody is responsible for that. The monetary system is altogether, because we have a value system, we have a family structure, so where anything that is you are taking, if you are not able to repay that, somebody is there to take the responsibility. But in other countries, the system is altogether different. If you are taking a loan or if you are not able to repay, you are responsible for that, nobody is responsible for that. Mobility of factors of productions, that is in international marketing there is restrictions, but in national it is exactly people can the factor productions, capital and labors easily flow from one state to another state. But in case of international marketing, there is restriction is there. You have to take the permission to have a exchange of mobility of factor productions. Factor production includes your capital and labor. Capital cannot be easily transferred or labor cannot be easily shifted to other countries, but here in domestic market easily can be exchange transferred, can be exchanged in case of a domestic market. Diverse policies and procedures. The policy and procedures altogether different. Already we talk about the diverse marketing environment. The environment is altogether diverse because you are dealing with a market where you are already have a inform, you are already aware about the market, you are already know the market, what is the political happening, what is the economic activity, you are already familiar with that things. So when you are talking about the international market, you are not familiar with the market. So that is why the diverse marketing stuff. And when you are dealing with different countries, the what is the environment is altogether different in different countries. Next, we go for the what are the difference. Talking about the market control easier, only as a single more challenging as a new factor. Market control, domestic market control is easier, but in case of international marketing, it is difficult one. market research, because already you are aware, you know about the domestic market. That is where not so much market research is required, but they wanted to have a market research because they do not have the awareness level about the market. Administrations is, is administration since the control over multiple markets. You know the administration, but that is in case of your international marketing, your administration, you do not know the who will have the power to control your activities. Product mix, that is on the product mix is altogether remains same, but in case of your international marketing, the product mix is altogether different. Product quality also you have to what now, you have to obey, or you have to manage the, that is the product quality parameters of the domestic market and the international market. And when you are going for the domestic market, you are already, you know the parameters, and already you have the control over that. But here you are going for the international, you do not have the control over it. Product design is also, let me cite one example. Company like, baby foods, that in Indian case, Indian scenario, what happens if the baby photo is in front of the packet? That is, this is exactly it conveys that is it is meant for the babies. But if it is European countries, and if you are keeping the photo of the baby in the front of the front of the packet, it conveys the baby is inside. So that is also the communication, the design itself is altogether different. That is also we want small cars, they want premium one. That is the design altogether different. Product development, you have the idea about the domestic market, you know the people, because already you are aware about the market. That is why there is not a big deal to develop the new products. But in case of international marketing, you have to go for the market research, you have to bring new products, because the market is altogether different. Advertising, you can have a common or similar kind of promotional activities. Advertising, local language, local celebrities can become your endorser for your brand. But in case of international marketing, you cannot have the similar kind of same same advertising across for all countries. That is the difference. Sales promotion seems also, because what exactly if you are giving any incentive in sales promotion, in incentive to the customers, Indian customer have a inclination towards that. But that is exactly for international marketing. If you are giving something is discount offers, the consider it is not a quality product. It's a non-quality product. So that is why the difference between domestic market is altogether different on the product policy, the product design, the product development, advertising, sales promotion, product mix. That is from that point of view, you can differentiate between domestic marketing and international marketing. Let us go for the another activity, that is Reliance and Tata Groups are big Indian conglomerates. Compare them. Already we have compared to both the company on the basis of their domestic and international marketing operations. Tata has different car altogether. Also, that is Reliance. They do have presence in the other countries also, but the way Tata is present in other countries, that is Reliance has limited presence. They don't have a presence in all countries. Tata Group has acquired, that is one of the company that is Jaguar, to become successful in premium segment, whereas Reliance, they have presence in in Sri Lankan market, they do have presence in Nepal, they have also presence in other countries. So, but that is exactly both the countries have different altogether as far as the international marketing is concerned. What are the scopes? If you talk about the scope of international marketing, the scope is exactly what, how your company or you can go for the international. How can you go for the international? Initially, what happens? You are confining yourself to the domestic market, because you are being a player, domestic player. You know the market conditions. You are confining yourself to the domestic market. Later on, when you got the stability, or you are getting the stability in the domestic market, you are going for the export, regional export. You are going for the exporting only, transferring or exporting goods and services to the other countries. You are becoming a regional exporter, then you are becoming an exporter, then you are going for the international market. You are going for the international market. International market matlab you wanted to have your presence in some countries, not across all countries. You are going for the some countries. Then you wanted to have your presence in across all countries. Then you are going for the, you are becoming, trying to, you are aspiring to become a global company. This is the process. This is the way you are going for, from domestic to global. Domestic to global, this is the scope. Domestic, regional exporter, exporter, then international, international to global, then you are going for the global market. This is the scope of international marketing. Identify the difference between international and global firms. Give suitable example for the same. What are the difference between international and global firms? Global firms, they have a presence. Coca-Cola is a global company. They have presence across all countries, more than 100 countries, and they do have customized strategy for all different countries. When they have a presence in America, the strategy, the approach is altogether different. They have a India. They're talking about that. Before you talk about the Unilever, when they are in India, the name is Hindustan Unilever Limited. But when they're in Sri Lanka, the name is Sri Lankan Unilever Limited. Why? Because they wanted to feel the customer that is, we are also your company. Because they also accordingly they changed their name, because they wanted to feel the customers that is, we are your company. You are not outsiders. So international, when you have a more presence, that you talk about the international. Global, international, global already talk about that Coca-Cola. International, when you are going for the, what you are going for the McDonald's is a international company. They don't have presence across all countries. They have presence in more than 10, 20 countries, but they don't have presence across all countries. So that is why the presence, on the basis of the presence, the operation of business, on that basis we can distinguish between international and global firms. Region for going international. What are the regions? What are the possible regions for going international? There are several regions for that. The product life cycle. Product life cycle, what are the stages? The stages are introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. When your product in the decline stage, what happens? Your domestic market is getting saturated. Your people are not accepting your product. Take the example of ambassadors. Ambassador is not doing Indian market, it's only in the decline stage. So you can, what exactly you can, the same product can be placed or positioned as a new product in other market. It can be positioned as a new product in the Bangladesh market. So that is why when the product life cycle encourages you to go for the international market. The product is domestic, then exactly you are in the decline stage, then you can go for the international marketing, because there is no scope here for your product in your domestic market. Second one is competitions. When competition is getting bigger or stiff in your domestic market, then you do not have the, what, you cannot able to create your own space. That is why you are going for the, you are diversifying your business, or you are going to the international market to diversify your business, to hold your presence in other countries. That is the second reason. Third one is excess capacity. When you are going for the excess capacity, overproductions. So many products are left out. What exactly you will do? You will go for the international market, because this product, China exactly, because when China has a excess capacity, China is known for dumping, selling the product below the price prevailing in the domestic market. So that is why they have gone to the developing countries, where people are looking for the price, less price products. So they went to that countries and dump product there, because they are already have the economic excess capacity. Because why? Because they, for the sake of achieving economies of scale, they are going for the overproduction, excess productions. So excess production, when that domestic market cannot absorb all their products. They go for the international market to dump or to go for the international market to do business. Geographic diversification you can do not have wanted to have it, like you have wanted to only into presence into only one country, because diversification also give you the best returns. You can minimize risks. We wanted to your presence in all countries. That is why you are going for the geographic diversification. Increase the market size. For increasing the market size also you are going for the other countries, because you are limiting yourself. You can, your market is smaller one, that is also you can concentrate. But when you are going for the international market, your market size multiplies. That is why companies they go for the international. What are the benefits you are getting? I talked about the beginning. International marketing has its own advantage and disadvantage. It also provides us a lot of opportunities. Also it has provides a lot of challenges. What are the advantage benefits are getting? If your product is in the decline stage, your product can get a new life if you are going for the international. Sales and profitability, that is the getting, you are getting benefit of, that is also increasing the sales and profitability can be increased if you are going for the, because you are enjoying economies of scale. And when you are enjoying economies of scale, then your profitability can be enhanced, your sales can be multiplied. Utilization of excess capacity, already we talk about utilization of excess capacity. That is, talking about that, let me cite one example of case, given the case study of the joint venture between Godrej and P&G. Initially Godrej and P&G have gone for the joint venture. Why? Because the plant which Godrej has established, that was not able to use properly, effectively, optimum utilization of plant. That is why they thought to have a joint venture with P&G to have a effective utilization of the plant. That is why they went for the joint ventures. But what was the motive of P&G? The motive of P&G was to enter to the Indian market. So that is why they wanted to enter the Indian market. The Godrej wanted to optimum utilize its plant. So later on, when their motive did not satisfied, they become detached. They went out of their joint ventures, collaborations. That is, we talk about the utilization. Geographical diversification, already we talk about geographical diversification. Yeah, two benefits of geographical diversification. Suppose your one country is not, you are not getting benefits, you can have presence in other countries, so you can getting benefit from there. Other, you can risk can minimize. Product life cycle, already we talk about that. Measure of advancement, increase market size, employment opportunities. That is exactly countries like India. What exactly we want? We are capital rich, we are capital poor countries, but we are labor rich countries. But for developed countries, they are capital rich countries, labor poor countries. But exactly, so we want everybody Indian. What is our aspirations? Our aspiration to become employed. We want a job. So international companies, they can invest their money and create jobs, but whereas we also want jobs. So that is exactly, that is why the government is allowing all international companies to operate here to create jobs. So employment opportunity can be, benefit can be generated when we are going for the international market. Improve standard of living, because you are dealing with international standards. You are not dealing with domestic standards. When you are dealing with international standards, what happens? The technology, the product, all are going beyond the standards. You are creating benchmark of yourself. That is why improve the standard of living, where there is a person, that is your, in case of your international marketing. What are the driving forces? What are the driving forces of international marketing? Driving forces of international marketing, exactly we talk about the liberalization. Already we talk about the liberalized policy of the government. Encourage company to think international. Already I talk about that. That is, some companies they went for international as a international proactive, so proactive strategy. Some companies they go with reactive strategy. But liberalization, since the policy has become liberal, it allows companies to go beyond their territories to do business there. Economic agreement between countries, some लोग we were talking about that agreement, that is the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, or agreement, trade agreement, SAFTA, NAFTA, that is exactly South Asian Free Trade Agreements, North American Free Trade Agreements, that encourage other countries to have an agreement, to have a collaborative agreement so that countries can enter into the trade. Technology, when we have a advantage over technology, we wanted to, because other countries they don't have advantage over technology, so we wanted to spread across, or technology has reduced the communication barrier, that is it is become easier to get information from the whole world with a fraction of seconds. Technology also enabled one of the driving force of international marketing. Revolution in transport and communications. Easily you can getting your e-commerce, you talk about e-commerce, Amazon. They are, they know Indian market, they are doing better in the Indian market because they are having improved in communications and transportations. Changing marketing needs and wants. Another we talk about the changing marketing needs and wants. The people prefer different product altogether. When they prefer different product altogether, so somebody has to provide that. That is another, because people are going for international products. So that is the, when the international company they realize there is a scope for us. So let us go and tap the market. So there is a changing in the marketing, market needs and wants. Cost of product development. When you are going for the so many countries, or you are going for the international, your control over the cost is becoming, you have a control over the cost. When you have a control over the cost, you can easily, that is, go in other countries and have a competitive advantage. Quality is another aspect. That is, if you are quality, that is another aspect, that is another driving force for international marketing. World economic trades, the world economic trade also have a policy formulations that is allowing countries to trade among themselves. And last not the least is you talking about the leverage. You can leverage your potential, your core competency. That is if you are going for the internationals. That is the all at the talking about the points of, that is all driving forces for international marketing. What are the challenges? I talked about that beginning mein, that is in the beginning I talked about international marketing gives you opportunities as well as challenges. What are the challenges? The challenge is growth rate. That is, if you are not, even if you enter the international market, but if the growth rate is minimum, so talking about that. Suppose companies like, when you are entering to the other markets, you are not able to get the right kind of growth. If the growth rate is not encouraging, that is one of the challenges for the international marketing. Demographic is different from one country to another country. We are a country, we believe on demographics. Honorable Prime Minister Modi is emphasizing on. India is a country which is talking about the 3D: demographic, dividend, and and diversified. When you talk about the three things, our demography itself is one of the point which is encouraging international companies to enter. But meantime, it is also challenging because you have a heterogeneous one product. You may be successful in Bangalore, or you may be successful in Karnataka. This is, you may not be successful in Odisha market, in other markets. That is one of the demographic problems. Economic difference: developed countries, developing countries, and underdeveloped countries. The difference lies between the different countries. Competition: wherever you go, you will face the competitions. That is another challenge. Global connectivity: any problems, any war, something happens, that is also challenge. Environment is evolving. It is another challenge, evolving. Political instability, currency risks, that is all about the changes. Regulations: now becoming government are becoming more conservative in their approach. I talk about the example of Trump. When the he is wanted to levy more taxes for the other countries. That is, companies are becoming regulation, bringing more regulations. Fluctuating exchange rates, that will another challenge. Distance problem, and that is you talk about ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is exactly your same approach cannot be applicable to other countries. That is another challenge for ethnocentrism. Then the last activity we talk about, we are working in a research department, Nirma, washing powder companies use interested, research identify opportunities. What are the challenges? People who are familiar with Nirma, but they are not familiar with other companies, other countries, they are not familiar. The company has to make itself international so that the company can able to become successful in other countries. Also, company has to change the product, price, and promotion and distribution. Before that, the company also has to go for a market research. Whether the customers are looking for a premium detergent or a economic detergent. If they're looking for a premium detergent, you have to position your product as a premium detergent. They're looking for economic, that is, a lot of things has to be taken care by the Nirma company before they go for the, that is, in the international market, because they have to face competition. They have to face competition with whom? Global companies, international companies like HUL, your P&G. You have to compete with them. So you have to benchmark with your benchmark, or you have to scale up your performance, improve your performance. Then exactly you can able to compete with them. That we talk about the next one. Before we conclude, let me summarize. We talk about the, first of all, we talk about what, now like in the beginning, we talk about what is the defining, how do we define international marketing. Second point, we talk about what are the driving forces for international marketing. Third, we talk about what are the opportunities and challenges that lies in different international marketing. And that is exactly, if you are understanding all the things in detail, then exactly you can become a successful international company. If you are not able to understand, because it is the marketing, the environment is exactly what it is, evolving one. You cannot have the same approach for all countries. You cannot have the ethnocentric approach for all countries. You cannot unless you cannot think, don't think the, like what now, the people have the same kind of preference. That is why you have to change your approach altogether. So this is exactly we talk about the international marketing. International marketing gives a lot of opportunities, got a lot of, lot of challenges. But even if you are a domestic company or you are an international company, you have to understand international marketing as a prime importance. Because why? You, anything happens to any part of the world, it is not affecting that particular country, it is affecting the whole world. So that is, even if you are a domestic company or you are a like national company or a international company or global company, you are have to understand as a marketing professional, marketing students also, you have to understand the international marketing. Because if you are, even if your company is operating in domestic market, but also you have to understand the international marketing. Like, that is to talk about the international marketing. I think you have enjoyed the session where we have discussed in detail what is the introduction about international marketing, what are the benefits, challenges of international marketing, and how can you become successful if you are talking about the international marketing. Then finally we are concluding our session here. Thank you all.